on Daf Tesson base. And we are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 lines from the top. Vezu Shav, Vezu Sheker. What's a Shvuas Shav, what's a Shvuas Sheker? Now, Shvuas Shav, the first opinion I believe is I didn't look it up, but the first opinion I believe is the opinion of Bavli. The second one, if I recall correctly, is unique to the Yerushalmi. Ezu Shvav, Ezu Shvuas Sheker, Shvuas Shav, B'shenishba l'shanos sayu adur l'odam. Shvuas Shav is when you take an oath to change something which everybody knows. So if I took an oath that this table was a chair, that'd be a Shvuas Shav. Okay? Shvuas Sheker is B'shenishba machlif. Shvuas Sheker is where I lie about something. In other words, I don't change something. I don't say a chair is a table, but I say yesterday I went to the butcher store, whereas yesterday and take an oath to that effect, whereas it turns out that I was lying and yesterday I did not go to the butcher store. Okay, so not denying or taking an oath about some reality which everybody knows to be contrary, but rather I'm lying about something where my whereabouts, my activities, things like that. Okay?
So it's one on an object and another on yourself?
It's more or less like that, yeah. The Shanos is that the Yadua is on the object. The other thing is the Sheker was more on the activity which you're doing. I think that's the difference. Could be proved wrong, but I think that's the case. Rabbi Yaakov B'Shem Rabbi Yochanan said, Yodul Shtayim Zeh Shvuas Sheker. It's an interesting definition. If only two people know, let's say that what occurred, or then that's a Shvuas Sheker. L'shlosha, once three people know what occurred, Zeh Shvuas Shav, it's Shvuas Shav, because then it becomes public knowledge. So if I did something and people know about it, or there's an object which people know about, the cutoff line would be between 2 and 3. 2 is still not considered to be public knowledge. 3 is considered to be public knowledge. Okay, it's like Tuma. We have Rosh Hashanah vis-a-vis Tuma is also 3, right? The general principle is 2 is company, 3 is a crowd. That's the principle which underlies this halacha as well. Okay?
Is there any practical difference?
What do you mean? Oh, you mean is there yeah, sure. Oh, the Gemara is going to. Oh, according to this version, no. The only difference will be how many people know. Okay.
So if 2 people know, then it's a shav.
Mm-hmm.
If 3 people know, then it's a sheker.
Right. That's correct.
Now, why, if 3 people know, in other words, it's common knowledge, why would you want to swear that something didn't happen when it really didn't happen, or vice versa?
You're an idiot. Obviously, anybody takes a Shvuas Sheker or a Shvuas Shav, he's an idiot, right? He's a Rasha.
Well, a shav, only 2 people know. A sheker, it's your do already.
Yeah, but he's lying in any event.
Yeah.
So we're not dealing with a tzaddik.
Isn't it the opposite?
What is the opposite?
2 is sheker, 3 is shav.
Oh yeah, did I say the opposite?
That's what I said.
What did it say?
No,
I'm sorry.
No, so it's okay.
Yeah, sheker is 2 and shav is 3. Once it becomes public knowledge, it becomes shav. I'm sorry if I misunderstood. I apologize. Okay, so does that relieve your question?
No, just turns it around.
It just turns around the names, right? Okay. So, Rabbi Hillel B'Shem said, "Apili Yadua, if it's known, l'shnayim, to 2 people, v'echol b'sof olam makiro, another person in Siberia knows about the matter, Shvuas Shav. That's still considered to be a Shvuas Shav. Why is that? Because in order to be a Shvuas Shav, 3 people have to know about it, and 3 people do know about it, even though 1 is in Siberia and 2 are here. Now that seems he's arguing. When Rabbi Yaakov Shem Yochanan said it has to be known by 3 people, that means 3 people who are present. According to Rabbi Hila, in name Rabbi Lazar, that third person need not be present. Is that clear? So it says Gemara, what's the difference between the two positions? Very simple. You lied about the nature of the object in front of two people. And there's one who saw the object. And then there's one guy at the end of the world, even though he's not mentioned. There's obviously a third guy somewhere in Siberia who knows the true nature of the object concerning which you just lied. And you pour it in, you throw it into the sea. And they warned him before he took the oath that it's going to be a shvuah shav. It's not a shvuah shav. You don't get malchus because only two people know about it. It's true there's a third person, but he's not present. In order to be a shvuah shav, all three people have to be present. I'll die to Rabbi Lezer. I'll die to Rabbi Lezer. Loke, according to Rabbi Lezer, you do get malchus. Why? Because he holds that already constitutes a shvuah shav. Even if there's somebody at the end of the earth, that's enough. Okay? So, says the Gemara, and vice versa. He's Ruba Mishin Shvuah Sheker. What if they warn him because of that he's going to transgress Shvuah Sheker? I'll die to Rabbi Yochanan Loke. According to Rabbi Yochanan, there is malchus. Why is there malchus? Because it is a Shvuah Sheker. I'll die to Rabbi Lezer, ain't a Loke, because it's a Shvuah Shav. Why is it a Shvuah Shav? Because there's a guy in Siberia who knows about it, which makes it 3. Okay? Rabbi what's the matter, Donald?
I'm just like thinking about this here in Marcos about like Dover Nisru Bar, might say Chomer is in a rough or might say cow.
But here it's not. Here neither is Chomer or cow. Right. But here it's neither one is Chomer or cow, obviously, right? Rabbi Babashim Rabbi Yehuda said, "I feel beo margalisa." Even if you say an egg is a pearl, that's a shvuah shav. Obviously, it says Gemara. What do you mean even? Ve'hein afilu. When there's what is this word ve'hein afilu? This is considered to be afilu. What is the word afilu? This is the nature of shvuah shav. Ella, rather, the way it's supposed to be read is kigon beo umargalisa. This is a class case of shvuah shav that you take an egg and say it's a pearl. Okay, I don't know why it's so classic, but I guess that would be a case. Pearl, egg, they look a little bit similar, a bit off-white. That's considered to be a shvuah shav. Okay? Getting back to our Mishnah. Tani. Kishem shenidre avoy mutarim. Just like oaths which are nedarim, which are exaggeration, are permissible. Kach shvuos avoy mutarim. So too, oaths which are exaggerations are permissible. Says more about Taita, we learn shvuos havaya suros. The shvuah and oath that adds a exaggeration is prohibited. Rabbi Yerusham said, "Kam b'mamidim." It depends whether he's I don't know if the word is sustain or maintain, but he's vigorous in maintaining that the shvuah he took is true. So, which is actually a stupid thing to do. But if he is vigorous in maintaining the shvuah he took as true, then a shvuah savai is a shvuah and he gets punished for it.
Wait a minute. How can we say a netter that is an exaggeration is permitted? Didn't we have before where somebody takes a netter, I'm not going to sleep for 30 days, we give him marcos right away?
3 days.
Making it even more of an exaggeration.
Right.
So if a netter that's an exaggeration is mutter, so...
Yeah, but that when over there, you're talking about a neder which he made, which he thinks he can accomplish. Here, you're talking about a neder which is clearly beyond anybody, because we're talking about class cases of we mentioned yesterday where somebody says he takes a neder that he saw a square snake. Okay, there's no such thing. So therefore, that's clearly an exaggeration which he's not attempting to accomplish. Okay, so says the Gemara. Again, kam mamidim, bekam she'eino mamidim. Depends if he's if he intends to be sincere about this, or doesn't intend to be sincere about this. Says Ma'arim Rabbi Ba. Now that's obvious. That really is obviously if he intends to exaggerate and is telling you that as if it's gospel truth, forgive the phrase, so then that's considered to be there's no doubt that would be considered to be prohibited. And if he's telling it as a tall tale, so it will be considered to be permitted. That really is pashut. What we're bringing this down for is the next line. Rabbi Yehuda b'Shem Amrei Ba Afilu Tema Kan V'Kan B'Ma'amidim. Even if in both cases he seems to sustain the truth and maintain it is true and not a tall tale. Take out the next four words because most of them take them out. It depends. Kan b'meichel shvua on the chosov, whether the shvua devolves on his property or not. Now, the next line, a couple lines are changed by the Rashba, and the Korban brings it down. What do you mean? What we mean here is that really a shvuas havai is forbidden to take. Now let's take a shvuas havai. However, the question is what the word then mutarin might mean. It says mutarin, shvuas havai is mutar. So it says the Gemara, I'll tell you what it means. When the shvuah pertains to your property, shvuas nechasai olai, he took the shvuah to refrain from his own property. Nechasad, in that case we say the property, and here the Korban changes the word, mutarin is mutar. Halilkos, but to get malchus, and here the Korban again changes, like it. He does that malchus. So it's an interesting dichotomy. When we say shvuah savai is mutar, it doesn't mean you don't get flogged. You do get flogged. What it means is that your property is mutar even after you took the shvuah. Okay? So the shvuah itself, it's either, I guess it's a shvuah shav, right? Because it's an unnecessary shvuah. Not shvuah sheker necessarily, because it's a guzma. But it's a shvuah shav. But shvuahs don't answer your property. Even if you phrased it that way, it still doesn't forbid your property on you. Okay, that's what I think. That's what I think it's talking about, as opposed to a neder, where if the neder takes place, if you've made a neder havoy, and it was legitimate in any way, shape, or form, then your property would be usher as well. Now, I don't fully grasp this distinction, but obviously a shvuah. Let's see if we can play it out. A shvuah taken is of more severity than a neder. A shvuah will get you malchus even if the shvuah doesn't take effect. A neder which doesn't take effect doesn't give you malchus, and vice versa. If it can't give you malchus, it can't take effect either. What's the difference between the two cases? I'm not sure. But the difference is probably, based on what we've been saying all along, Yeshiva Shalom, this 101, shvuah is on the gavra and neder is on the chefza. Right? So therefore, shvuah has in fact two components, two possibilities: shvuah sheker and shvuah shav. Right? By neder, you don't have such isurim. There's no such thing as taking a false neder. It doesn't exist, right? Because the neder doesn't have to do with you and your statements of fact, but rather the neder has to do with the object. So therefore, there's no concept of a neder shav or a neder sheker. Shav and sheker pertain to statements. Statements you make by definition can only be taken in the context of shvuah. A neder either works to answer the object or not, but has nothing to do with the truth of your statement or the untruth of your statement. So therefore here when we say nidrei havai mutarin, it means if I made the prohibition on the object linked to a neder, so the whole thing falls. Right? If the neder doesn't stand because I exaggerated, so then obviously the property is permitted. But besides that, there was no neder. By shvuah, I can disassociate. By shvuah, I can say that even though the property remains mutar, which in fact is what it says here, so it says the concept of lying in a shvuah, which is independently usher, I'll get malchus either because of shvuah shav or shvuah sheker. Right? Did what I just say make sense? Okay? So I'm not sure if that's the case because Yerushalmi doesn't tell us. Yerushalmi just tells us this concept that by neder avoy you're off the hook and property's not usher. By shvuas avoy you're getting malchus but your property still remains mutter. So that's what I'm trying to explain. Okay, says the Gemara, Kashem should. That's it for that thing. Kashem Shanidri. I sat this morning looking at those lines for like half an hour, trying to figure out what exactly they meant, even after the Rashba changes the Girsa. Kashem Shanidri Zeruzin Mutarim. By the way, the Rambam argues. I should point that out. The Rambam seems left the Girsa intact. The Rambam has an interesting take on this. The Rambam says that a guzma, it depends what kind of guzma you have. The Rambam holds that if you have a guzma, an exaggeration, which is impossible, then you don't get malchus. Because everybody knows you're exaggerating. But if you have an exaggeration which is possible, then you do get malchus. Right? Because then it's a lie. In other words, the shvuas sheker. If you're going to lie, big lies. Right? The big lie works. Because if it's a big lie, everybody knows it's an exaggeration. Therefore, you're not going to get malchus. If it's a little lie, okay, you get the idea. Okay?
Actually, that's really what the Morris at the beginning of this section here. The different distinction between 2 and 3. I think the distinction between those are 2 is it's not really established that it's incorrect. 3 already you have a number. It's established that it's.
Yeah, but there you did get malchus. In Shua Shav you did get malchus. The Ram says if it's a big enough lie, that's a guzma, I guess we would call it guzma nikeres. I don't remember the exact question Ram used, then he wouldn't get any malchus whatsoever. Okay? Says more further. Kashem shenidrei ziruzin mutarim. Just like I could take a nether in order to encourage you, right? That I say, if you don't come by tomorrow to eat some lunch with me, all my property is forbidden on you, right? Kach shvuas zeruzim mutar mutar, so to a shvua of that nature be mutar as well. It says more, od hi b'mechel shvua nechosav. This is also going on a case where a person has a shvua devolve on his property. It doesn't mean, again, what the Gemara is trying to say is that this is a shvua. It's not a neder. And therefore, malchus you're going to get regardless. Because by neder, if the neder is, doesn't devolve, so it's not a neder, you don't get malchus. But by shvua, because there's a concept of shvua shav, or shvua sheker, because there's a concept of superfluous or false oaths in and of themselves, generating malchus. So here too we're talking about, again, Odi mutosh mechel shvua on the chosav. You put shvua on your property. Shvuas nechasai olai. A shvua that your property is forbidden upon you. Nechasa mutarin. The property remains mutar. Holiokos. But the malchus, again, lokeh. You do get malchus. And again, that's the tikkun of the Rashba. The malchus you're going to get because of the nature of shvua sham and shvua sheker. Actually saying this over to you right now, I understand it much better than I did this morning. It makes sense. Shvua is a different category than neder. Shvua, even if you would have an out by neder, the nature of shvua sheker and shvua shav eliminates that out of malchus when you talk about shvua. That's the way it is. Okay?
So at the same time, if you make a shvua that is possible,
yeah,
you're over on the shvua, so can you be over on that shvua again, or would we say?
Yeah, we're going to get to. I was going to discuss that. The short answer is no. We had previously, I don't know if you hear that night, ain't shvua chalal shvua.
No, I'm saying, not besides you take a shvua that, what's it called, I'm not going to use something for 3 days, right? Mm-hmm. And then a day later he uses it. Mm-hmm. So if he uses it again in second, 2 days later, does he get malchus again?
Yeah.
Why? I would say now, let's say that his shvua was a shvua shaker, and he got his malchus, and the shvua is off.
Depends if there was a time limit on the shvua. The shvua can still exist afterwards. Okay, I don't know if we're going to have that tonight. I don't remember. I think not. Says Mora. Chizki Omar. Chizki said, "Aun the mishtayin the mishtabal train dinun train. If somebody takes the oath that 2 are 2, it's that if I took an oath and said I take an oath that there are 2 tables in the room. Well, actually, there are 3, but theoretically, if there were 2 tables in the room and everybody could see that there are 2, right? I'm not counting yours. 2 square. Well, there are 2 round tables, right? If I took an oath that there are 2 round tables in the room, and there are 2, that's shvur shav, right? The loke mishum shvur shav, it's a superfluous shvur. This is yet another version of shvur shav. The shvur shav is an truly unnecessary shvur about something everybody knows. Rabbi Chagai said, b'shem Rabbi Shimon Lakish, Hain dechama mitra nochis. Somebody sees rain falling. Umar, and he says, now everybody goes crazy trying to figure out what the next 3 words might mean. And the Ben Aryeh on the bottom brings down from the Aruch that actually the Girsa should be Umar, he said, instead of Bali Kukri Berikshon, it should be Umar Kire, and he said, Kire Pule Berichson. Kire is the language of God in Greek. I don't know actually what God in Greek is, but he says Kire is the language of God. Pule Berichson means there's much rain. So he took an oath that it was raining, cats and dogs. And he took an oath and he said, by gosh, it's raining a lot. It's a shvur shav, right? Because everybody knows it's raining a lot. So therefore, it's a superfluous shvur. Okay?
That's no different than saying that there are 2 square tables.
Mm-hmm. It's a continuation. That's all. And then another example. That's correct. Okay? Like a mishur shvur shav. Rabbi Chunya and Rabbi Yah, so a person, who says all the time, I swear to God, or something like that, that's shvur shav, right? He should be flogged every time. So Rabbi Chunya and Rabbi Yaakov Barav Mishir Mishmul Bar Nachman said, Esrim V'arba Bolios Hayubiuda. There were 24 governments in Yehuda, or 24 regions. V'kulan Charvu, and they were all destroyed. Mishum Shvur Shav, because of Shvur Shav. Shehi Shalemes, even though it was true. The Chsiv, as it says, Lashav Hikes Nechem. Now, simple pshat in that pasuk is, for naught I smote your children. But the way it actually means, for shvuos of naught I smote your children, right? Because they were unnecessary shvuos. Talmud here, we learned over there.
What were the shvuos do?
Doesn't say. No. And the type which you just said, it's raining. I swear it's raining. Talmud here, learned over there. Shvuos shloch al kikarzu. This is a Mishnah and shvuos. It says that this is the case which a little bit like Donald was referring to before. You have a shvur, you took a shvur that you're not going to eat it's only the first 4 words of the Mishnah brought down, but the Mishnah goes on to say, the person took a shvur not to eat a piece of bread, repeated the shvur, right, and repeated it again, and he ate it, he's only chayav one prohibition, right? And there the Gemara, the language of the Gemara of the Mishnah is, Zoe shvuas bitui. This is a shvur of expression. Shechayavin al zedoina malkus. You chayav to do it intentionally malkus, and shigagas a korban olav yored. If you do it unintentionally, chayav a korban olav yored. So the Gemara's question, according to the Gilin of Ephraim here and others, is what does it mean Zoe? This is a shvuas bitui. So the Gemara has asked a question. It sounds like only by shvuas are you exempt are you exempt on the second and third time you eat from the loaf, not by Nedarim. But we know that it's not true. Davar she'ilu bin dorim aser v'shvuos mutter. Are you going to say that in Nedarim you in fact get 3 prohibitions, and in shvuos you only get 1? Now this requires some background. We had a couple of blot ago where he said ein shvua b'soch shvua v'yesh neder b'soch neder. That if you say shavua, 3 shavuos in a row, that only 1 shavuot at a time takes place. If you're matir the last shavuot, then the first 2, then the one before that can take its place. But at any given time, you only transgress 1 shavuot. So it's not exactly your question. Your question was where I made 1 shavuot, but transgressed it multiple times. Here, it's where I made multiple shavuos, right? And I transgressed. So in Lemaisa, before we said that by neder, you can transgress multiple times. So the Ran in the Nedarim in the Bavli says that this is often the Gil and Ephraim I saw this. The Ran during the Bavli says that that's only true about Nazirus. The case given in the Mishnah before is Nazirus. And Nazirus, which are terms, you can accept upon yourself multiple terms. Even if you're already Nazir, you can accept upon yourself a prospective term. But the Gemara's question here is that in terms of non-Nazir Nedarim, such as the neder over here, of what the neder would be over here, a neder to refrain from eating bread or something like that. So there, the halachos of Shavuos and Nedarim should be exactly the same. If Shavuos is only the first one, the series takes effect, not the later ones. So too by Nedarim as well. So why say Zoe Shavuos be doing? Right? That's Mar's question. Davashil ben Dorim also Shavuos Mutter is also by Nedarim. So says Gemara, no. I'm sorry. I'm just going to read that so badly. Lo ada marta ella al hada. When it says Zoe Shavuos Bitu, it's not going on this issue of how many prohibitions you transgress, because that's also true about Nedarim. Where it's going on another Mishnah in Nedarim in Shavuos there. It says there in Shavuos, Echad Dvarim Shel Atzman, Ve'echad Dvarim Shel Acherim. Shavuos Sheker, or Shavuos Shav pertains both to your stuff and to other people's stuff. Neder only pertains to your stuff. You can't make a neder on somebody else's stuff, right? You can make a neder that you'll refrain from somebody else's stuff, but you can't make a neder on that person's stuff, right? So therefore, Shavua pertains, if you lie about somebody else's stuff, or say Shavuos Shav about somebody else's stuff, that's equivalent to you making a Shavuos Shav or Sheker about your own stuff. But here we're talking about where you made a Shavuos Shav or a neder against somebody else. That's meaningless. A neder can only work upon myself, not corresponding to anybody else. Okay, I can't say plain stuff should be neder on him, right, or something like that sort, and therefore there's no neder sheker or neder shav in that respect. Okay, Amar Ba. That's the period. Now we have a new, so that's Zoe Shavuos Bitu, Zoe by Shavuos, not by Nedarim. Okay, now, Amar Ba b'shem Shmuel, Rebasa named Shmuel, Shavuos shenosam ploini leploini mona. If I take a Shavuos that Reuben gave Shimon $100, v'nimtza shelo nosam, and comes out that he never gave him $100. Me'achar she'ein biyodo labo, since I can't take a shvuah in the future, I can't take a shvuah. I swear that Reuven will give Shimon $100. I can't take an oath like that, right? It's beyond my power to do so, right? So therefore, ein biyado l'shavar. Therefore, even if I take it on the past, it's not a valid shvuah, which is kind of like a contradiction to what we just said. Because we just said a shvuah is also on others. But here you want to say shvuah is only on yourself, not upon others. So it's about something which is in your hands, not something which is not in your hands. That's what he wants to say. Ashkachtani, so we found a brisa which says, Al Tarteon, on both these cases, Ze Chomer. Now here you have to change the gears very radically. The Pnei Moshe does this, because the gears in Shavuos is completely different. So instead, the gear says in front of us here, the gears in Shavuos is like the Pnei Moshe brings down in the last wide line, the fifth line down. Al Tarteon, we find on both of them, that there's a severity in the past and in the future. Shomer lo ochal, somebody says, I'm not going to eat, lo ochal, I'm not going to eat, Eino chayev elo achas. He's only chayev one. Lo achalti, if he says, I didn't eat, and I didn't, and it says again, I didn't eat, so chayev akol achas v'achas. He's liable on each and every one. So, if that's the case, it seems that, I'm not sure exactly how it addresses Rabbi Baugh's statement, but somehow this is meant to tell us, A, that you're mechuyev on the past, right, by Shavuos, as opposed to by Nedarim. There's no such thing as being mechuyev on the past. And it seems, although I'm not 100% sure that this follows, that he's also coming to dispute Rabbi Bar Bar Shmuel. Rabbi Bar Bar Shmuel said that that's not true where I testify against somebody else and I take a shvuah that Reuven gave Shimon. There I can't be chayev shvuah shavar sheker because it's not biyodi, it's not in my hands. Here it seems that anything in the past I'm going to transgress. Okay, and each and every one. Why? Because that's a classic shvuah shavar sheker, independent of whether it pertains to the future or not. Okay, even if it pertains to another person. Okay, that's a bit choppy. I really don't know. It's hard to say, to tell if this Ashkachtani, according to Pnei Moshe's a change of Girsa, is going back on Rabbi Bar Bar Shmuel, who's talking about other people, or it's going back really on the difference between Shavuos and Nedarim and saying that one pertains to the past and the other doesn't pertain to the past.
Why is there a Havamina that it wouldn't pertain to the past? You're claiming you were a witness.
Because by Nedarim there's no such thing.
Yeah, but this is you're making a shvuah that an event occurred. That you were a witness to this event, that Reuben gave Shimon $100. So why can't you make a shvuah about that?
Because the logic would be a shvuah is on my gavra. What does that have to do with my gavra? If you said, you know what you'd say? If you said, shvuah that I saw, that would work. Because then it's a shvuah that I saw take place.
Right.
But here it's a shvuah that Reuben gave Shimon.
Okay.
It just has an event. So that would be different. Okay, that's I think that's Rabbi Boss saying, name of Shmuel. Okay? Says more further. Hashem Lakish Boy call me Rabbi Hashem Lakish I really shouldn't say this, but there's a massive difference between Soita and Nedarim and Yerushalmi. The Soita was going, Nedarim, this is tough again. Hashem Lakish Boy call me Rabbi Bar. Hashem Lakish asked in front of Rabbi Bar. Now here the Shari Teretz changes the gears slightly. He says, Hashem Lakish Boy call me Rabbi Yochanan, Ma Bar Rabbi Akiva, Lo Siv Al Divir Beis Hillel. Okay, so the ba is not a name, but rather means like the verb come. Well, what did Rabbi Akiva come to add on Beis Hillel? Now, where's Rabbi Akiva? Beis Hillel said, in our Mishnah, Neder shehutar miksaso hutar kulo. If part of the neder is no good, the entire neder is no good. I was telling you about a case over here where you saw that the people who were taking figs off your tree, you thought that they were robbers, and it turned out that your father, your mother, plus some robbers. So then, since your shvuah is batel against your father, so it's batel against the robbers as well. That's what Rabbi Yisrael said. Now Rabbi Akiva said something similar. Rabbi Akiva says later on in the Masechta, Kai Ditniyah, like we learned over there, Achaba Rabbi Akiva, the Limaid, Rabbi Akiva came and taught that neder shehutar miktsasa mutar kulo. A neder which is partially mutar is completely mutar. It's a story about a case where a person made a neder concerning all the days of the week, including Shabbos and Yontif. And somehow the neder vis-a-vis Shabbos and Yontif became mutar, so therefore the rest of it becomes mutar as well. So he said, I'll tell you, it's a very, very big difference. Ma'im tamon. I think this word ma is superfluous. This is like the one the Shari Torah took from here and put 3 lines ago. Ma'im tamon nodar neder. If you over there where it's a neder, Rabbi Akiva is coming and saying a neder which requires haTorah. It wasn't based on a mistaken premise. It was based on a premise which ultimately a person wanted to be matir, but it wasn't a mistake. So neder, which requires chakiras chacham, adoimer, you say neder shabata mikzaso, a neder which is partially canceled, bato kulo, it's completely canceled. Kan here she'enat tzorech chakiras chacham, here where it does not require chakiras chacham, because everybody knows it's like pischa b'tzido absi. You would not have wanted to answer your fig tree on your parent. Lo koshkein, certainly we say neder shuta miktsasa b'hutar kulo. So what the Gemara is really saying is backwards. Rabbi Akiva said about that case neder shuter mitzvah, so no hutar kulo. Certainly, you would say in our case, yes, that's true. But what we really wanted to see here is that Rabbi Akiva is adding on to our case, because in our case, Beis Hillel is being matir. A part, since the neder is partially batel, the entire neder is batel. Why is that? Because of this neder being one which doesn't even require chakira, analysis by the Chacham. It's so obvious that the neder was not supposed to be, or the shvua was not supposed to take effect. However, there, it's not obvious. It requires a Pesach in order to undermine the application of the neder, whatever it was, to Shabbos and Yom Tov. So therefore, it's a chiddush, more of a chiddush there to say that neder shel hutar miktzah, so hutar kula. Okay? Rabbi Yossi b'shem Rabbi Hillel takes it a different version. He says, mishum neder tos. It's not the same thing at all. Our case is not neder shel mutar miktzah, so mutar kula, with an automatic heter. Our case is neder by mistake, because he didn't realize it was his father gathering the figs there on the tree. I realized I would never have taken the neder. That's a mistake. If it's a mistake, then that's completely different. Of course, by mistake, we would say neder shuta mitzvah so hutar kulo. We give his chiddush is that even where it's not a mistake, but later on you come with a Pesach, you also say neder shuta mitzvah so hutar kulo. Okay? Next case. Locha Gimel. Nidre onsim. You have a neder which is taken because the person was compelled to do so. What's that? No, it's so bad. No, a neder which was broken because the person felt compelled to do so. What's the case? Your friend took an oath that if you don't come eat by him lunch tomorrow, all of his property will be also on you. Okay? And then you couldn't make it because you got sick or your son got sick. Or the river impeded you. Harel need your own sim. This is a neder own sim where it's beyond your capacity to do anything about it because you tried and failed. So therefore, there's no problem. The neder falls off. Says the Gemara, it sounds like the only reason why the neder falls off because there was a compelling reason because he got sick. But if he didn't get sick, tough. Why? The Gemara doesn't state the rationale for his question, but it's quite obvious. Gemara's question is, it's Nidre's reason. We said Nedarim given as incentives are not valid Nedarim. This is also an incentive. The host is trying to provide an incentive for the guy to come eat lunch by him, right? So that's the case. There shouldn't be a problem here at all, even if he didn't get sick. If for whatever reason he didn't show up. It's not a valid neder. So it says, Rabbi said, the Rabbi Meir. Rabbi Meir holds that Nidre's reason are valid Nedarim. So Rabbi Meir said later on in the Masechta, he says, also it's forbidden until you give. Now this is a case like this. This is a case where you say to your friend, you're not allowed to derive any benefit from me unless you come and give to my kid a measure of grain. So Meir says not allowed to derive benefit until he gives the grain. Chachamim say it's Nitre's reason, even if he hasn't given the grain, it's only an incentive, to try and generate diligence, but it's not a true neder, it's not a sincere neder. So we see Rabbi Meir does not hold the Nitre's reason, right? Those that even Nitre's reason are considered to be binding. So that's it says here. The Rabbi Meir Amar Osar Chita is forbidden until he gives them the grain or whatever the stipulation was. Rabbi Yosef said not true. But why don't we say our mission is going according to everybody? How so? Rabbi Zero, like Rabbi Zero said, Bistam Chalukim. But Rabbi Zero said later on in the Masechta, again that's much later where this appears, that the Machlokas is Bistam. The Machlokas Rabbanan and Rabbi Meir is by a generic case. What do you mean generic case? Monokim, what are you talking about? Each guy says, it's because of my honor I took the oath, or I'm refusing to abide by the oath.
I could have sworn that the Bavli said something the opposite.
Don't swear.
What?
Don't swear.
Is it secular or show?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
The Bavli says,
Something opposite to the previous Gemara we've been doing.
which previous Gemara? Before the Mishnah or after the
Before
Mishnah?
the Mishnah. That if you take like a shvua not to do something that Shabbos, right?
Yeah.
If you take a shvua not to do something that
The entire week.
entire week, so it's not Kal because it includes Shabbos. And I believe that there's a Mishnah in the Makos that says the opposite. Since it's Kal during the week, it's Kal also on Shabbos.
Yeah, but no, it's talking about when he comes to Yimater Neder, we make him a Pesach because he would never have intended to take it on Shabbos. It's not talking about where there's a problem in the Chalos, but rather where he wants to remove the Neder later on. Okay, so it's not the same thing. But I thought you were talking about this Gemara. This Gemara is talking against the Bavli. Okay, this Gemara over here is against the Bavli. But I'm going to try and scoop it into the Bavli later on in a couple of minutes. So, it's an interesting thing here. Manakayim said, this thing which the Yerushalmi poses, the Bav does not. Yerushalmi says, if we're talking about a case, well, it's a logical dichotomy, the Bavli just doesn't get into it. Listen, we're talking about a case where Reuben says, unless you give my kid a measure of grain, you're also in all my property, right? So we have to ask them afterwards what they meant. If this guy says, it's for my covet, he means it. And the other guy says, it's for my covet, right? I didn't give it because of my covet, right? Or the reverse neder, right? That he says, I'm only going to come eat by you if I can give your kid 100 kur, right? Because I want to reciprocate in some way, shape, or form. Which is more altruistic neder, perhaps, was the same idea. So if each guy says, no, I really meant what I said, so then Divrei HaKol also, that's not Zruzin. Then that's everybody who should hold Zos, both Rameir and Rabbana. If this guy says, I made the stipulation because of my covet, and the other guy says, I agreed to the stipulation because of your covet, so then, everybody hold that that's Nidrei Zruzin, right? Because whoever made the neder was making it because of the cover of the other guy, and the other guy knew it was because of his cover. Okay, so oversimplifying. The idea is that if they contradict each other, then it's not Nidrei Zruzin. If they're both on the same page, and they're just going like through the motions, so then it's Nidrei Zruzin. What's the machlokes? The machlokes between Rameir and Rabban is bestam what the intent was. When nobody said, I'm doing it for XYZ's covered, or we don't know who's doing for XYZ's covered. So Rameir says the default assumption is that they're not Nidrei Zruzin. And Rabbanan says the default assumption is they are Nidrei Zruzin. That either, he wanted, when the neder was, or the shvur was, that I won't eat by you unless you give my kid 100 zuz, is because I want to have some relationship with you and I have something to gain, and therefore I want to provide an incentive, or I say I'm not going to eat with you unless I can give your kid 100 zuz. So then the reason why he's doing it is because he doesn't want to be beholden to the other guy. Those all could be Nidrei Zuzin, right? Even Korameir. So now our Mishnah is difficult again. Because our Mishnah said that there's a neder which is not Nidrei Zuzin, where you need to have an onus in order not for the neder not to apply. But this is a classic case which should be considered to be Nidrei Zuzin. Because it's a case where the person who's inviting the other guy said, if you don't come to my house, you're going to be also an anah. So why is this not Nidrei Zuzin? Before we wanted to say, Rameir doesn't hold him Nidrei Zuzin. But then we said, no, Rameir also did Nidrei Zuzin. The only question is, what turn of a phrase and what scenario makes it Nidrei Zuzin? But everybody holds that there's a concept of Nidrei Zuzin. So therefore, who's our Mishnah who says that a case where what seems in Nidrei Zuzin, you still need an onus to get out of the repercussions of the neder? Rabbi Hillel said, Kain Urcha the Bar Nasha. Now, nobody understands this line as far as I'm concerned. Except, of course, me. Because the Bavli says interesting thing. And nobody seems to bring this Bavli explain to Yerushalmi. Perhaps justifiably, but I would do it myself. The Bavli says, you know what, you make a mistake. There's almost a rebellion quote from the Bavli. You were thinking that our Mishnah is where the inviter takes the oath negative the invitee. And that's Nidrei Zuzin, because if you don't come to lunch tomorrow, all my property is offered. But it's possible, says the Bavli, that our Mishnah is talking about where the invitee takes the oath against the inviter. And he says to him, if you're serious about what you're saying, right, then prove that your invitation, you say, let's do lunch sometime, right? So the person who's invited said, you really mean lunch? Well, in that case, take a neder, which will be involved if you don't have me for lunch. You see what's going on? So that's not Nidrei Zuzin. He's very serious about that. If the guy who's inviting takes the neder, that might be Nidrei Zuzin. But if the guy who's invited either takes the neder or coerces a neder out of the inviter, so that's not Nidrei Zuzin. And that's when it says, this is what a person says to his friend, Kursasi Baya. You want my couch? Meaning you want me to come eat lunch by you? Because I used to eat on couches. Then you take a neder. So that's not Nidrei Zuzin. So the only way out of that neder is if you intended to in fact fulfill the terms of the neder, but somebody got sick in the family, and therefore the neder could not have been carried out. Okay? So the reason why it's not Nidrei Zuzin is because the muzman, the person who's invited, forces the neder. Okay? Now, it says more further. Halachda. Nojim la'rogim u'lecharamim. A person can take a neder to murderers and to charamim are thieves, u'lemochsim, and to tax collectors, shehi the truma, that something is truma, because they won't collect truma, api shener truma. You can lie to them. Shein shel beis melch, or that belongs to the king. Api shener shalom, even though it doesn't belong to them. Beis Shammai says, bakol nodrim. You can take a neder, which is a falsehood, but not b'chutz mishvur, but not a shvur. More machem by shvur, I guess, again, because the shvur, shav, and shvur is a concept. With some of them, shvur, also by shvur, it's the same thing. Beis Shammai says, lo yiftach lo b'neder, you can't initiate the discussion with him. He's got to ask you to take a neder, and then you can file suit, even though it's a lie. But you can't propose in that to begin with. With some after you can jump to the gun and propose to him another. Beis Shammai says, it's whatever the case is concerns, not more than that. Also something which the case is not concerned, right? Where the guy or is not coercing an oath on that matter. Ketzah, how so? Amalo, they said to him, and more konam, the Ganovim said, recite an oath or a neder. Isha nanesli, if I'm hiding any property that my wife should be forbidden to derive benefit from me. V'amar, and the guy, he's obviously quaking in his boots, he says, Ishti uvanai nanimli. I'm not even willing to go beyond that and take assure that my children should be barred from deriving an offer from me. So Beis Shammai says, Ishta muteres. The wife, which is what they demanded for him, that part of the shvur falls off. But the part about his kids, asurin, that they are forbidden. They're both mutter, even though he added on to what was being demanded of him, since it was done under, duress, so therefore it's not a valid form of neder shvur. Okay? La'aragim, when it says la'aragim, it's barago when they came to kill, not when they're walking down the street, dressed in three-piece suits. U'charamim, b'shas cherem, it's when they come to steal. Tan Ravina and Pazi Sher Yochon says a very logical thing. Imayadav shel sakana mutter. If there's danger involved, then of course it's permissible. Rabbi China b'shem Rabbi Yochanan said, If it's not a Tayum Sakana, meaning he's coming to you and saying, "Hi, Reb Yid, how you doing?" And you know he's a murderer, but he wants to make a nice, presentation to you by prospectus only. So then in that case, you're not allowed to lie to him. If you do lie to him, then you're going to suffer the consequences of the lie, whatever the lie of the shvuah is. So it has to be dafka under imminent pressure. Okay? Tani, we learned, fascinating Gemara. I don't think it's a Tosefta. I don't think it's in the Bavli. Toilim begoyim. You could say, oh, that property over there, it belongs to John the Goy, even though it's actually yours, because you don't want the governor to take it or tax it. Right? You can do that. Toilim begoyim. Let's say it belongs to the Goy or to another kingdom. Avo lobi, so we can't say it belongs to, a Jewish tough guy, a Jewish mob. You can't say it belongs to Meyer Lansky. Why is that? Shebali Zroa Mitzuyim Lipo, because it's an unfortunate statement. Bali Zroa, the masterful people, they eventually fall. Cycle turns upon them as well. Well, if he falls, this guy who's a Baal Zroa Yisrael, so we're going to come after his fields then. So, and you just attributed this field to him, he's going to have to pay more taxes, right, or lose more stuff, right? The lo yipo, we don't want him to fall on his property. The Agaga Lake on Mason, they're going to roll out wherever he has and claim that that it came from it's his, this case, and start collecting taxes based on that. And actually, it belongs to the Yisrael who just used his name as a foil. So therefore, you can't use names of Jews as foil. Okay? Over upasach. What if a guy, Yerushalmi said if a guy is responding, he can only respond based on what he's asked to take a net, and not more than that. Whatever he takes more than that does become also. What if he jumped to the gun? The goy didn't ask him any question yet, but he, out of pachad, out of fear, jumped the gun and said, "I'll take a netter about my wife and my kids, anything you want," right? So, I'll be Beishamai. What's the story from Beishamai? So, Shmina Mina Dotzera from here, it's kind of a roundabout deal. It says, Beishamai, and Beishamai says, Ishnu Muteras Ubanav Asurim. His wife is permitted, and his kids are also, where he took a netter beyond what he was asked. Now, this is the Gemara's bone of contention is that's a superfluous part of the Mishnah. It's obvious that Beishamai would argue about that case, right? Hadar Marah. So why is this case brought down in Mishnah? It must tell us over a pasach of the Beishamai that Dafka in this case are his kids also, even though his wife is mutter. But if you initiate the contact yourself and you overreached, not in response, but in your initial promise, out the Beishamai mutter in Beishamai holds it's okay. Havum Meimar, Tapo Yudal. They want to say, bin Doring. That this is the quote from the Mishnah, right? That you can only lie to them by a neder, but lo b'shvuas lo, but not by a shvua. Ashkach Tani Rabbi Shmuel Eimer. They found it said not true. Rabbi Shmuel says lo tishavu b'shmi l'sheker. Do not take a shvua in my name l'sheker. What does it mean in my name? For something which has to do with court proceedings and such like, emes among Jews. But when it's talking about the antithesis of my name, to murderers and bandits, so nishba, even a shvua, you can take la'aragim l'charomim for murderers and bandits and moksim and tax collectors in order to get out of the taxes. Okay? Halacha, harein atil sa'elu korban. You say these saplings. This is kind of shifting gears a little bit. You say these saplings should be a korban. In other words, so when you examine it, you see a tidal wave coming, or a great wind, or a fire sweeping down. You say, and you want to be makish your trees really in order to Hashem will make a nace and save them, right? So rain atiyas korban. You say if they don't get swept away by the wind, there'll be a korban. The talus korban. This korban should be a korban. It may serve as if it's not burnt. Yesh lohem pidyon, so they can be redeemed. What he meant is to give their value to hektish, not to give them themselves to hektish. But what if there was no imminent danger? He just said, "Harei elon natil sa'elu korban." These saplings are considered to be kodesh bedek abayis, Actually, katatu, until I cut them down. Until I cut them down. The talazu carbon, and the talazu carbon actually saref until it's burnt down and burnt by human hands. Eilan pidyon. Even if you redeem the wood or redeem the talus, it's still kadosh. Because there, you didn't intend just to give the value to hektish, you intended to be makdish this, right? And therefore, even if you redeem it, so it still goes to hektish again. It's an amazing concept, right? Because since you said that they're the carbon achi katsutsu, as many times as you redeem it before they're cut, they're still hektish, because you say it in a way which hektish comes back and returns and returns and returns again. Okay? Again, our mission study about case where you saw the wood choppers of the king coming. You saw a fire coming. Varmi said, so if they don't cut down the trees, that to be a korban. If the house is not burned, it should be a korban. Here it should be according to the Shaitos Sovanit Solu. And they're saved. But my friend Kachan, are they Kaddish retroactively from the time of my neder? Or Mikan they Kaddish from the time that they are saved? What's the difference? Nenaman, if you had a no between the time you made a neder and the time that they are safely passed over. In Taimel, my friend Kadosh, Kachu, if you say they're Kadosh from the time you make your neder, more, then there's Me'ilah, right? Because you had a no from Hektish. In Taimel Kanol, if you're going to say it only devolves from here on in, so then, lo more, there's no Me'ilah involved. Because obviously at the time you drive the Noah, before you knew that they would be saved, then they weren't yet Kadosh. And the Gemara doesn't resolve it, or just leaves it dangling. Chizkiah says, Pidayan Chazlik Dusha. If you redeemed the wood and the sefer, right? You said it's carbon until you redeem, until they cut. What happens if you redeemed it? Goes back to the Hektish again, because it's not cut down yet. Right? Rabbi Yochanan Pedion. Rabbi Yochanan said, no, it's a valid pidyon. So, what are you talking about? It's a valid pidyon. Masisa Pliga, Rabbi Yochanan. Our Mishnah Rabbi Yochanan says, ain't let pidyon, they're not reading. So, plus our law, so he explained the Mishnah is different. He says that, not that ain't let pidyon. Of course they can be redeemed as long as they're standing. Unlike we understood the Mishnah. What does it mean, ain't let pidyon? When they cut down, they don't need a pidyon anymore. While they're standing, they need a pidyon in order to take off kedusha. Once they're chopped down, says Rabbi Yochanan, this is this taich in the Mishnah. When we learned the Mishnah, we learned it like Chizkiah, that as long as they're standing, you can redeem them, but the kedusha comes back. You can redeem them, but the kedusha comes back. According to Rabbi Yochanan, no, once you redeem them, they're redeemed. What it means that what you meant to say is not that they should constantly get their kedusha back until they're chopped down. But if they're ever chopped down, then the kedusha would fall off even without pidyon. That pidyon should not be necessary at that point. Okay? So that's a completely different perspective, right? Says the Gemara, Amar Rabbi Yosef said, Madam Rechizkiah, another interpretation. Madam Rechizkiah b'shir podayan hu. That which Chizkiah said, the kedusha comes back is when you redeem it. Because as far as you yourself are concerned, you denied yourself the possibility of redeeming until they are chopped out. Avalim pedoyan acher. But what if somebody else was pointed to them? Because the hektish better go by, somebody else could be pointed to them. Then palka man kedusha asan. He's not restricted by this business of being required, so to speak, to be makdish again until they're chopped down. The moment he redeems it, they're considered to be redeemed. There's a contradiction. L'chalfa shitas Rabbi Yossi. Rabbi Yossi seems to contradict himself. Tamon, by us, who may says, Pedoyan acher, pokamem kedusha asa. If somebody else redeems them, then the kedusha falls off. V'ka, here, meaning there, in kedushin, Rambam says, Nisis la'acher, lo pokamem mena kedushin. If she marries somebody else, the kedushin doesn't fall off. Now, this is a a weird, a cockamamie case. And really, I should leave it for Monday, but we just have one line left, so I'll cheat. He says, the case is like this. You marry a woman out tonight, and you say, let my marriage take place when you get divorced from another guy. Thing is, she's not married to the other guy yet. Then she goes and marries the second guy. Then the second guy divorces her. Does your first marriage now take effect? So it's Machlokas Rabbanan and Rabbi Yossi. Rabbi Yossi says yes, it does. Your marriage lies dormant as long as she's married to the other guy. Once she gets divorced from the other guy, your marriage takes place. So here too, even if somebody else redeemed it, the tree, somebody else redeemed it, but vis-a-vis you should have like a Midas touch. When it comes back into your hands in some way, shape, or form, it should become Kaddish again. So like over there, the marriage comes back to haunt after the intermarriage falls off. So to here, okay, so the other guy redeemed it. But now, if it comes back to you, so it should become Kaddish again in your possession, right? And it sounds like Chizkiah, once the other guy redeemed it, the spell is broken. So it says in Gemara, Lo tzurcha. You know what? You're right. The truth is that in that case, Taka, the Kiddushin falls off. If I'm a Kaddish woman, and then that it takes effect after a Gerushin to somebody else, from somebody else, and then the other guy comes and marries her and divorces her, my Kiddushin is null and void. It's water under the bridge. The second Kiddushin disrupted that. And here too, the B'doya Ideo the Macher disrupts. His Shiloh is a different Shiloh. He had another Kakamemi Shiloh. Don't confuse Kakamemi Shiloh with Kakamemi Shiloh. His Shiloh is Lo Tzurcha Ella. It's said by case rather B'Shenos Lo Shtei Prutos. He gives a woman 2 prutos himself. He says, "This is your marriage now, and I'm going to divorce you in a week, and that should be your second marriage afterwards." So he wants to marry himself, this woman, twice in succession. He must get thrills from going to Las Vegas and going to the chapels. But the bottom line is, so that was as clear. Of course, if an Acher came in the middle, that would cut the chain. Like over here, if an Acher came in the middle and redeemed the trees, that would cut the chain, and then the hektish would fall off. Even though if he himself redeemed it, the hektish would constantly come back again until the trees get chopped down. But if somebody else comes in the middle and redeems it, so even if he then gets possession again, it no longer gets Kedusha. Somebody else cuts the chain. But there we're talking about a case where he himself wanted to make a chain of Kiddushin. He wanted to marry her, divorce her, and the second Pruta should work with Mikan Alaba. That was Rabbi Yossi's question. And that's tantamount to us over here, where he's Mekadosh the trees, redeems it, and the Kedusha comes back. Redeems it, and the Kedusha comes back. So that's the Shaila. And that Shaila, Taka, is room to say, just like over here, the Kedusha keeps on coming back, even after being redeemed, so to over there, the Kiddushin keeps on coming back over and over again, the new Prutos, even after a Gerushin takes place. We'll stop it. There's one night the week after next we're not going to learn.